e la mia voglia di inventare un cielo un po' più blu, e la mia gente è la mia forza. Apro la porta come in un regalo, ci sei tu.
Hi, I'm Andrzej. I'm from Czech Republic, and today I'd like to share with you some basics concerning olive tree pruning, yoga practice and Zen meditation, showing how these things are very naturally and deeply connected to each other. And I will do it here in Pantarei House and Garden, which belongs to my dear friend and great artist Elisa Callejera, who you could see singing at the beginning of this video, and who lives in truly beautiful part of the world here in Patti in northeast Sicily. The workshop that you're gonna see now is divided in many chapters, which you can easily choose below. It was documented by my friend, Swiss friend Olivier Wenger, and it is in English. But you can also easily choose various language according to your language base here below. Okay, so just enjoy, please. I was born in the north of Czech Republic in the little farm, and I grew up on the farm. So this like cutting trees and growing vegetables and having animals was like my daily activity. You know, that's something my home space. We had always like rabbits, pigs, and chickens, and geese, and all these type of things. And also my grandmother had a goat farm. Yeah? So this space is kind of very familiar for me, always, the gardening and stuff. When I was 18, I interrupted the high school studies, and first time I went to England, you know, for 7 months maybe, and I worked there as a gardener. So I was gathering the experiences again about how to garden, how to deal with the trees, vegetables, and especially flowers, not vegetables. Yeah, that was a very interesting experience, important. And when I came back, I finished the high school and I went to university. Yeah, I studied at 3 different universities at the same time. And one subject was religion science, you know, philosophy and history of religions. Then another subject was environmental sociology. So we had the basics of zoology, botanics, and philosophy, ecology, and how it is connected, how nature is actually related to human being and to the society, you know, this way of connection. And another subject of mine was social anthropology, culture anthropology, so studying about different cultures, which my main interest was were the indigenous culture that are connected to nature strongly, and the Western Oriental culture. You know? Okay. And the last subject in another university was art academy, and I was studying.
Too much.
Yeah, well, I was very ambitious those days, and I was searching a lot of things. Now I was just wanted to know what is the truth about the world, about myself, about the nature, and about the human being. So I was trying many ways, and yeah, it was a lot. I was from morning till the evening, just keep studying. Yeah. Also already writing a book and doing researches for other universities as ethnographer, you know, so I was very busy those days, you know, and I was studying dance and non-verbal acting, you know, how to work with body expression. Mm-hmm. And thanks to that last study in the art university, I got to Japan first time, yeah, and I found this master in Japan whose name was Min Tanaka, and he was a dancer and farmer, and at the same time Zen master. You know? Wow. And those days I went to his farm in the mountains, and I studied with him like two summers, already 3 months of very intense everyday training. You know? He wouldn't call himself Zen master, but he was super connected, and he was very much respected around as a spiritual authority. Yeah? But what we did actually there was that half day always we did very intense training on our body and of our mind. And we worked with this kind of energy, which we call prana in Indian, which we called ki in Japanese, or chi in Chinese, or jiva in old Czech language, Slav languages. Basically, this original energy. We tried and learned how to manipulate, how to work with it, how to perceive. That was the half day, and half day we were farming, taking care of rice, vegetables, trees, and we were naturally discovering how these things, the spirituality and working with yourself, is connected with the outside world and with the nature. But over there they made kind of communities in 1985, which was a group of dancers who started to dance and farm. So they were living by the land. They were trying and also making performances, festivals. So it was super connected. And the dance, you can imagine, it was not like ballet or these kind of things. It's very coming from the traditional Japanese roots of connection straight with the nature. So it's coming from the dance which was called Buto and started in 1960s. But my master gradually, he separated from this movement and just carry on his own way in how to connect with the nature and with himself through the body and through the movement. So sometimes it looks very, very expressive, very strong. So yeah, and after this study, when I came back to Czech Republic and to all these universities, I just found out that it's impossible for me to study anymore. This intellectual way, this being just in the box of intellect, in the academic world, everything from books. I got a new knowledge. I got a new way how to connect with the nature straight through my body and through my heart. I could ask the nature what she thinks about the world and about ourselves, not from the books, right? I could connect more with the people, so I could be more empathetic and more feel how the others are and not just study them from the books again. So I couldn't come back to university way anymore.
How old were you came back to Czech Republic?
24.
24.
But I still wanted to study, I still wanted to understand the world and myself more. So what to do? Well, I started...
Here we say the old lady of 90 lady, she wanted still to study.
That's
Still
good.
to learn.
Yeah.
To learn.
We have to keep learning. Then our mind is fresh always.
And what do you want to study?
Cosa vuoi studiare?
Yeah, I wanted to study still the different cultures, the nature, and different way how to connect with the nature and how to do the agriculture in the traditional way and permaculture way. And I wanted to study different forms of spirituality and spiritual practice. So well, I went to travel. I went to the world. And I traveled for about next 4 years. And that were studying travels. Not just like traveling only, but I had strong aim to study as much as I can from the others. So I lived a long time in New Zealand, and I lived with the local Maori people. I became a part of tribe, a member of tribe, got the Maori name. And my Maori name is Te One One, which means soil, dirt, terra. And they gave me the name as somebody who is connected with the Mother Earth, with Papatuanuku. That was there. And then from Malaysia, I got to Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam. And I was living in Buddhist monasteries, especially in Vietnam, in Zen monasteries, like improving my practice. And also in Japan. I was living in Zen monasteries in the mountains. New Zealand. Then I went to India and I was studying yoga and Hinduism in various places for a couple of months. And then I ended up in the Eastern Europe and studying Christianity, living in Orthodox monasteries, especially in Romania. And I finished my tour in Romania, where I started to study the indigenous Czech community, which there is Czech community from 19th century when Czech people moved to Romania and established some Czech villages, and they preserved the old culture. So I was studying my own roots there. And of course, on the way, all the time, I wasn't studying just the different type of spirituality and living in monasteries, but I was always trying to connect with the local communities and farmers especially. And I studied the traditional ways and alternative ways how to farm. So it was these Masanobu Fukuoka students in Japan, where I was later farming for 1 year, living in Japan, studying this. I was studying different farming methods in New Zealand, also working with cows in the orchards, doing the same in India, and then especially in the Eastern Europe, the traditional way how to approach the land. Yeah? It's complicated.
You're
See.
complete in agriculture.
It's with the studies, no. But then I came to when I went to in Romania and Japan, I started to practice it. I wanted all this knowledge to put in the practice and trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. That was my first aim, to be independent on this money-consume system. And so I tried to do everything by my own hand, make my food, build my house, do my transport with the horse or by feet, and just living outside of the system, in the middle of the nature. And this I did in Japan, in Romania, and in Romania I have now this little farm. Okay. Now we're coming back to the end of the story, gradually, because I achieved this independence. I gathered all these experiences in the time of the most work. We were like cultivating even 120 different plants to understand how they grow, what is the best for us. We were really living without electricity, without machine, chemicals, very ecological, and also doing the transport with the horse, with horse cart, and all this building with natural materials. And I gathered so many experiences that in 2016 I could tell myself, well, okay, now I know how to do it. Now I know how to stand on my own feet without the help of money and the consume system that I don't agree with. And since then I found out that, okay, now I'm ready, I can share this knowledge that I gathered around the world and these experiences with the others. So I started to teach. And I lived in this little farm of myself, which gradually transformed into a little hermitage, more concerned about the meditation practice and art. And I wasn't that much aiming the self-sufficiency anymore. I was just using and being in the garden and with the nature, just to work there and make the connection with the nature, but not anymore like build up my own self-sufficiency and as much as I can grow and these kind of things. I started to be more comfortable, yeah, but at the same time I needed this energy for sharing. So I started to go for my lecture tours and music tours in Czech Republic and other places in Europe, and started to teach at universities, at schools, libraries and eco-centers about the connection of the nature, farming practice, permaculture, agriculture, and meditation and yoga practice, and basically some way how you can work with yourself. This I did till this year, when the COVID time, actually in February, stopped my lecture tour, where I should have like 4 or 5 workshops and 30 lectures in the February and March, but it was stopped at the beginning because of the COVID time. And I was locked in Czech Republic for many months, and I could at least explore my home country after 10 years. It was very nice. But at the same time, I started to change my lifestyle. I was thinking, okay, maybe time to travel more and to find new experiences, new people, and share maybe these experiences and knowledge further. And that's actually what I'm doing here now. And yeah, my main concern is about how to connect these practices that are connecting one person with oneself and with the nature. So how it is actually connected? That's the main topic. That's the main question. That's the topic of the today lecture, and it's very simple. It's very, very simple, because as simple as I am, I know that I just told you that my life is kind of complicated and many things I did, but it's all connected in one point, in me, in a human being. And this human being just wants to be happy. That's the simplest thing. I really just want to be happy. And after the years of study, I just realized and discovered that the happiness, for me at least, lies in unity. In unity with myself and with my surrounding, with other people and with the nature, of course. So for me, the happiness really lies in the balance, in harmony. And I believe that this is something that we have in common.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's so easy to say, no?
Da dire
be happy, be in balance. No? That's everybody understands that there is the happiness, the balance, harmony, unity. Okay, let's do it now. There is so many things in ourselves, so many powers inside of us and outside of us that just want to cause the imbalance, and that takes us away from ourselves and from this harmony, from this unity. So I think we all need some kind of practice, you know, to restore the balance and to keep it and make ourselves strong. Keep walking the simple path of happiness, you know, and not to be taken away. You know. And for me, for myself, the one practice that connects me with myself is like yoga and meditation practice, or any other things that I was trying. It can be dance, it can be tai chi, it can be also music. Yes, yes. Anything that you basically take as for connection with yourself, that can help, but it must be done. The best is every day, and for me, really, maybe it's because I'm so stupid creature, and I have so much powers inside that keeps me away of balance, that I have to do it every day. You know? So for me, the normal way, the normal day is that I start with my yoga or dance practice and with meditation, and it takes me usually like 2 hours, yeah? And I do one more time in the evening, and that's my usual day. Yeah?
She had, then everybody found his own path.
Si. Yeah? And that's exactly also when I was studying all different ways how to do it, then I'm completely open even to share with people some other methods that are just more natural for them. Yeah? So everybody in his own nature should follow what he can, but he needs to be sure that it's something that is connecting himself, you know, with his body, with his heart, and with his mind. Yeah. So I was saying one practice for connection with myself, right? But then there is also the practices to connect oneself with the environment, yeah? With the nature and with other people. Yeah? Of course, the best connection, best practice to practice with other people is love, you know, loving kindness, you know, friendship, and all these kind of emotions that are connecting us with the others, yeah, and making this balance. That's one way, but it's not something that I will teach you today. I think most of you are even better in this than me.
We are not bad people.
Oh,
We are
see,
not bad
see,
people.
that's what I already know very well. And but then there is this way how to connect with the nature. There are many practices like this, and for me, one of the best is farming, gardening. You know, which straight connects you with the nature, which makes you in constant communication with another living creatures and with your space around. It makes you to understand weather, the soil, you know, the elements, which is for me it's very nice way how to understand and communicate with the nature and get in balance with it.
When he's farming, he feels free
Mm.
and
Likes
feel
it.
good, very good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so he is agree with you.
Super.
And
no?
they say it's bad when it's raining because we have to stay inside.
During the workshop, we did almost 2 hours long of yoga session, which started with pranayama, breathing exercise, following with various positions called asanas, and ending with relaxation. And for me, the yoga practice is very closely connected to these outdoor activities, including farming and gardening. And soon I will tell you why and how. Originally, the word yoga means connection, and it refers to the connection with our true self. So it's basically a spiritual practice, right? And like this, yoga has many ways and many branches. Like we have dhyana yoga, the way of meditation. We have jnana yoga, the way of philosophy and wisdom. We have bhakti yoga, the way of service and worship. We have karma yoga, the way of work. But nowadays, yes, nowadays when we say yoga, I think most of us will imagine these physical exercises, kriyas, pranayama, and asanas. But yoga is not only like this. Yoga is not only kind of gymnastics. Even as we know this physical yoga under this common name Hatha yoga, then even like this, it's very complex and holistic way how to approach life, which includes also some moral precepts, also some ways of behavior, also some methods how we should deal with our mind, and many other recommendations also concerning, for example, our diet. So it's something very complex. When I do Hatha yoga, I do it especially for the connection with my body. And like this, it is very closely connected with meditation practice. My experience with Hatha yoga is almost 30 years long. Despite as a part of my everyday practice, it has been included maybe last 6 or 7 years. And I always try to combine it with anything that I do in my everyday life, which can be rock climbing, trekking, but also farming and gardening, right? So how is actually yoga useful for the gardener and for the farmer? Well, one thing is that it prepares, stretch and relax our body in order to do this hard physical work that we usually do in the garden, right? Next thing is that it gives us some possibilities, moving possibilities, which is useful especially when we climb the trees and we do this olive pruning, because there we sometimes find ourselves in very strange and difficult positions, and those moments we really appreciate to be strong and to feel secure in that position to do our work properly, right? And this is something that yoga can provide, can train. But the most important thing for me, what yoga can give to a gardener, is that we can establish very strong and deep connection with our body and with the senses and with the energetic system which is going on and which exists in our body and which we can really sense and to get connected with. And once we get connected with this energetic system, with our body, with our senses, then we can much more easier communicate with the plants and with all these living creatures that we find in our garden, and basically much better understand what is going on there and follow our intuition, which is very important, right? And the last thing which is good about yoga and how it can help a gardener and a farmer is that once we practice yoga, we basically feel good. And once we feel good and we enter a garden with pleasure and with happiness, then everything goes much better. And all these plants and living creatures in the garden can actually cherish from our positive vibrations. Now we are in a garden, no? This is the garden space, and usually we're using the garden or approaching the garden as a place where you either make your living, make your food, and you make it for this being effective and getting fruits out of there, or we approaching it in the way that we want to relax there. So it's our two main purposes which are very usual. You either relax, having aesthetic, no use practically, or you having it as a agriculture space, right? But I want to propose you another way how to approach the garden and how to move there, which is to watch the garden as a place of communication. The place where you can really search the balance with the outer environment, but also within you and with yourself, because it's there is a cycle. Once you are in unity with yourself, you can easily get in unity with your space. When you are more in unity and harmony with outer space, you can get more in unity with you, and of course, consequently, more happy, So when I say also a place of communication. And when I say the word unity, you can already feel it in the words, right? Communication is also comunicare, no? In Latin, comunicare, but also communitate. Ne? Commune is this same root, commune. Ne? It's like together, unity, keep together. Ne? And when you are entering a communication, either it's another person, either it's a tree, either it's the earth. At the beginning there must be always at least two. Ne? You have to really realize yourself and realize what you have in front of you. Who is in front of you or what is in front of you. To realize that there is another existence which is also having senses, which can perceive, which can feel you. Not only you that you are feeling something, but also something is feeling you. No? So this is the basement of communication. First realize myself and realize there is another one. And then gradually when we approach to each other and we go through the process of communication, we becoming one. No? And then again separate and one. And this is a natural process. Keep coming to myself, recognizing the other, communing with the other one. This is how it's going. No? It's very natural. So when we enter the garden, I just want you to realize that all here is life. All here, it's full of creatures. All here, there's a lot of beings living here. No? And the garden is not just for me, but also I am here for the garden. No? Yeah, I'm very important element and very important one because I'm the ruling element, kind of. No? I'm giving the shape to this garden. I'm kind of a guide of this garden. No? But at the same time, I should realize that I'm only one of the creatures here. Yeah, nowadays in the modern world we keep hearing like we lost the connection with the nature. We need to search our roots. We need to make the connection with the nature again. When people go to forests and go to mountains and go to the jungles, because that's the nature we need to connect with, But you just get out of the house, right? And come on, this is nature, right? And also you don't have to just come out of the house, but you just wake up inside this body in the morning and you are straight in the communication with the nature. The closest nature that we have to us is our body. And the nature itself, it's very physical. It's very physical creature, it's very physical space. And we can connect it with it through our senses, through eyes, through ears, through touch. Of course, when we're eating, we're already communicating with the nature in some way, And we can touch it. But not only touch it with our skin, we have such certain kind of sense deep inside of us that can really feel what's going on around energetically. Everybody has it, this kind of sense. And this kind of sensation is something that the trees and the plants are very sensitive to. If you develop this kind of sensing, that you can really enter the real communication with the plant world and with the animals also, once you really understand who you are as a flow of energy. And for that I'd like to do with you now a little exercise first. Very simple but very powerful exercise that I do during my silent workshops. In Czech and Romania I do these silent workshops. It's like 1 week long and I'm really teaching people how to understand the nature through their body, how to understand each other through the physical communication, but not only like touching but really feeling each other. So they are silent, 1 week silent. Only in the evening we speak, we share and reflect, but otherwise we silent. And we trekking through the mountains 3 days, and 3 days we do farming. And this is like kind of workshop that tries to develop their senses. So I would like to ask you, 6 of you, to come here, please. Okay, let's do this. 6 of you, and please just stand next to each other. Give like 1 meter distance, like here, make a line. Okay, the exercise is simple. Like this. You close your eyes and these other people, they will exchange in standing in front of you. I will let them to stand in front only. And we will change in the silence 6 times. And I just want you to feel if something changes in the space. if the energy of the person that just changes in front of you, if you can feel some difference, you know, that's just only this. Now please you choose one person and stand in front.
There's person a lot, like here,
Mhm.
and the first one not much,
See.
but I feel different things.
Oh.
No, I feel good vibration
Mhm.
overall.
The first, it's I didn't feel so anything,
Mhm.
so peaceful. Something, yeah, I was good. The second one, it's make me smile, but after okay, nothing more. The third one, it's make me where it is. Yeah, laughing. The fourth, I don't remember, and fifth was intense.
There should be no expectation. Yeah? This is just to feel. Oh. Definitely, every person has definitely different energy. That's how it is. You know, as every plant is different, as every color is different, so every person is different. See? So it just depends on you opening how much you are able to feel or not. Talking about this is this main sense of ours is something that you need in the garden or in the nature when you want to communicate with the other creatures, because that's what they feel, that's how they communicate, that's their communicating channel, the main language, this kind of sense. You know, in the other words, it's called wisdom of the body, or also intuition. Wisdom of the body, or intuition.
Okay.
Yeah, and we call it in many different words often, but that's this. You know, if we are nowadays like modern people, we are often very much in the head, in the thoughts, in the some kind of decisions, and yeah. So if we just are able to get out of the head a little bit more and enter the body, then new world opens. And also new space and possibilities of communication with the nature. And it's very useful also. Apart from that you can make this communication with nature, it's useful in everyday life. Because this wisdom, this intuition is much more truthful than your head. Huh? Always. And the society is often very confused, and it can take you away from the past, from your path. But if you come back to this, then you will always be right. And on your own way. Because just an example now, you go and you meet a person, and this person is, you feel like in the, right, that's not for me, that's just not for me. But everybody else said, no, he's great, he's so great, this guy, you know, go to him and give him money or whatever, just, okay, and you go, and you do, and you fail. No. And you have very unhappy time after with this guy, because you followed the words of the others, no? Because it's so strong pressure. But what about to trust your heart and your body from the beginning? No, that's better. You know, that's for you. It's not this case because she's great. You know, I just chosen an example now. Yeah. Okay. So that's the one thing I want you to realize when you enter your garden. Basically, to come back to your senses, come back to your body. And that's something the yoga is good for also. You prepare your body, you feel your body, then you enter with your body inside the garden, not only with your head. No. So that's one way, that's one thing, important. Another thing is, but okay, be sensitive, be gentle, be open, but remember that you are the grower, right? And you are the master of this garden. You giving the direction. You are the guide and you are the leader. So if we are too sensitive and we go to this tree, should I cut? Sorry, should I cut here? If you're too sensitive, you will do nothing there, you know? So balance, you know? So now I want to show you how to be the grower who wants to cut the olive tree, right? Okay. I think mainly two reasons why people don't want to come to the garden and to the physical work is either they're lazy, no, or they are too much in the head and in this like mental world that they just don't want to come into the world of the body. No. But it's not our case, no? We all want. Okay, good. So we go and have a look on the first tree. There is a lot of work in this garden. That's why you are here. To do this work, no?
Cosa devi fare Fabio?
Di fo? Oh. So, okay, so in rule number one, when you do this kind of work, to always remember the sensitivity, of course, follow your intuition, yeah? And follow also your art sense. It's really like artwork, you know? It's not like only mosaic or like drawing, no? It's not only art, also gardening can be an art. Yeah? And also in the way that you just want to make it balance and beautiful, the tree, and make it more life. Yeah? The important question, why we want to cut olive tree? Why, actually? What is the reason?
To make it breathe.
It's easier for us to enter in connection. I mean, when we have to climb or to collect the olives, or the kind of relation we create with him, or for aesthetic purpose.
Super. Cool.
To give much more space and stronger roots.
Yeah. Okay. And now get completely on the ground and say me the basic reason why we want it. Oil. We want the olives. No? Okay. I know after all these yoga exercises, we are now thinking that, but yeah, it's important. No? So yeah. One thing is we want good production. We want olives. That's one thing. Another thing, yeah, we want the tree to be alive and to feel happy and to boost the life, to be alive, to not get old too quickly and basically be all the time young, yeah? And giving life and giving fruits. And we want to communicate, sure. So that are the reasons why we want to cut the tree. And then that's the answer for the question why. Now, how to do it? No, that's another question. First, we need tools. We need good tools for cutting trees. For me, the best one is this one, like only the saw, the hand saw. Sometimes I use this also for the small branches. Yes. But most of the work I do is this, and on the thick branch, yeah, I need a big saw or the chainsaw, but the motor one, the engine one. But I use it very little because I don't want to scare the tree too much. You know, just imagine that I come with this. What he thinks, no? Yeah, he's super scared, no? So I also use it. Sometimes it just helps you to work. Yeah. Sometimes it's so much work that you just do it. Yeah. So, but always we need to use this kind of powerful things. Well, do it consciously. Let's do it consciously. And also we can send like good energy and say sorry. Don't be afraid. So when I start always the work, I come and I say, don't worry, don't be afraid. It will be painful, but it's good for you. No, it's good for you. So for that to cause as little damage to the tree, now we need very sharp tools. That's important. So yeah, make sure that this is sharp or this is sharp. Otherwise, we don't make the cut clean, and also it can it can cause infection comes after and whatever, you know, it's not cut properly, it's not good for the tree. Another way, if we cut, we should try to cut as close to the source as possible, you know, always, like, okay. Like here, no, yeah, we cut here. See? But don't worry, it's not possible always. Very often it's not possible. Some are at bad position or it's too thick, so you don't make it because here it's thicker on the down than here, right? So you cut a little bit higher, no? So don't worry, but always try to get as low as possible. The reason is that when it's bigger, then always new shoots comes. You know, if you cut it as close to the tree as possible, then you eliminate the possibility of the new shoots, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one reason, and also it's just clean, no? After, but that's the rule number one with the instrument. Then, of course, you have to sometimes climb the tree, so please just be careful again. Yeah. Another thing is you need to remove this dead wood. Because this dead wood is just taking energy from the tree. You know, it's heavy, it's taking also the sun and everything, and it's completely useless. So we take away all this old stuff or weak stuff. This one is still alive, but already almost just one branch. So it's old branch, and we take it off. You know. Yeah. So, okay, remove these old branches, and we have also another work when you come to the tree. But Sonia did most of it already. Then you have these suckers coming out from the main trunk. Get rid of them. Also, there's no. Yeah. Or from the ground. Yeah. Also, take it out. Made it clean trunk. It just takes energy from the tree. It has no purpose to get out. Yeah. And then, what is the main purpose of main way how to cut and why to cut? Is that we need to bring light to the tree. You know, especially olive tree. They just love sun. Right? And they need sun to grow, and they need the sun from all directions. So if you can see, this tree is a lot overgrown, right? They're shading each other, the branches. Like this one, it's already in shade, right? There is no sun coming to it, so it will not give fruits, you know, and it will not be happy, basically, you know. So we need to get through the tree and like make space, make it light. You know, make it not so dense like this. This is like a bush already. And for that, the first step that we do with the tree, we open up the center. You know, we need to clean up the center, so it will be like empty there, because the main shape that we want to create as an artist, basically, we want to create kind of wine glass shape. You know, or martini. Yeah, like a martini shape or like a wine glass shape. So it means we need to get the empty center so the sun can get inside, you know, and from inside it can spread to the sides, you know. That's very important. And they also even say that it should be so clean that the bird can fly through. So after you clean up these suckers, after you get rid of this dry wood, but it can come on the way, then you just go into the center, you have a look.
So you're cleaning all the parts
that are going inside. See.
In this moment.
Okay. See? Yes. Basically clean it all. So that's the first, and also the yoga. Yoga is here very good because you're climbing, and sometimes you will have very interesting positions, no? About the cutting. And then what we need to get rid of are these branches that are going straight up. This one doesn't have them because it has this different type of shape. But I will show you on this tree. You can see these branches that are branches that are vertical. They go straight up. Sometimes they say that are male branches, but basically these branches don't give fruits at all. Like so, what we need on the tree, we need to keep these lateral branches that go like this, you know. Not these ones. All these ones should be removed. So these I take off. These I take off. These I take. These I take. These, of course. So when you cut the tree, you're basically moving from inside to the peripheries, from the center to the peripheries, no? And then in the periphery, we will just choose some that we will leave, but also most of these will go away. So I repeat it again. That was the first job, clean the center. Yeah. Second word, remove these that goes straight up. Yeah? And the third job is to go to these branches that are growing lateral. Okay, they are fine, but we need to take out these branches that go inside, and those that make it too messy. Yeah. Yeah, and
depend on your sensitivity.
see, now it starts your intuition and sensitivity, your artwork, no? It's still like easy rules, no? Clean the center, take away the top one, take away those suckers, and take away the dead wood. It's still a rule, you're following a rule. You are like a machine a little bit. But once it comes to making the shape and giving the space to the branches and making the sun to come in and make it nicely balanced, then the intuition and the art sense coming to work. But it's the question of judgment. Now you have to really choose. No? You still have to keep going away from the tree, watch it, how much balance is it, you know. But basically remember, we want the wine glass shape, we want every piece of the tree to have nice sunlight. When we come to this tree also, we see that these branches are going down. When I first came to the tree and I told Sonia that I would take this one, she said, yeah, but it's easy to pick. No? And it's true, it's true. But here you will have nothing to pick. Yeah? Because it's in the shade. It's in the shade, and also when it gets too much down, when it starts to touch the ground, it will start rotting.
Yeah.
Yeah? So that's we don't want. So all these things will go off. Yeah? Now you can somehow sense where the sun going, where it's not going. So
This one.
see, this is quite messy, this part. So I just need to make it a little bit lighter. What about if I take?
Yeah, this one.
Let's take it all. See?
Ask yourself if the sun is it arrive or it depends on how is the exposition, no?
But you just watch it from different side, and you just feel the density. No, you can feel, well, this is on development of your visual sense. You watch it and see how dense from all the sides, and you see, yeah, it's kind of possible for the light to go through. Yeah, this is really then on the personal judgment. So the last thing that I will show you is the things that I already cut, so you will see the final result, how it could look. Okay.
Is this one?
Yeah, so here you can see the difference, no? This is the before cutting and after cutting. You know,
So this one was like this?
this one was like this before, you know, and because it's so much overgrown, it took me 2.5 hours, almost over 2 hours to cut it, you know, because there was so much of it. But now you can see, that's the shape, it goes like this. Inside it's empty, and the sun can go everywhere. And it was quite radical cut, yes, and the tree now feels like it was pain, you know, and he lost so much, you know. You took him, but the result is not that he will die. The result is that you fucker, you know, and he will start. He boosts himself, you know, and he puts many branches. And next year, but rather in 2 years, there will be, I believe, a lot of harvest because the new branches are productive.
Okay.
New branches are giving fruit.
The next year.
I think next year no cut. I wouldn't cut him, and he probably will give some fruit next year because this year was empty, right? But I think in 2 years it might be a lot of fruit, but you never know. But like this, it's kind of cut properly, I would say. Maybe professional, another professional would have a different opinion, but this is how I do. Now the tree can breathe. Now he can be more alive. And when you can see the branches, then there is space. When there is space, new life can come in.
È la mia terra, è la mia pioggia, è la mia voglia di inventare un cielo un po' più blu. È la mia gente, è la mia forza. Apro la porta come in un regalo, ci sei tu. L'acqua che scende bagna la gente che non la sente, non si accorge perché lavora. Un giorno nuovo ti senti vivo, esce un sorriso, poi la notte piove ancora. Oh mamma, io mi sveglio con paura, nella notte buia a piangere da sola. Questa pioggia scura bagna la pianura, fino a quando a primavera torna solo un fiore.
Nowadays, the word meditation has many, many meanings, right? And already sometimes you hear meditation and you're oh. No, me too. That's why I don't really use much the word meditation. I rather use the Japanese word zazen. That sounds for me nicer, and it's for me more connected to the source. Somebody can feel like a religion inside of it, but for me it's not religious. It's connected to Zen, to the Zen way. Yes, nowadays Zen has a form of religion, but from the beginning it was not a religion. It was basically a practice of reaching your deep self, to understand who you really are, the straightest way you can take, really. Because if we want to know who we really are, if we want to be in balance with ourselves, well, most of us, the first thing is that we take a book of some self-development, right? Or some spiritual guide or whatever. That's like first step, no? But all this is kind of medium to this divine self that is deep inside of us, no? So we don't need mediums. We don't need somebody in the middle of us and us, right? Because it's us, right? It's me. So I am the gate for my own spiritual growth. I am the gate for my own happiness. I am the gate for the balanced way of living. So the Zazen, the meditation, just takes you straight there. Because it's just to turn your eyes inside, to turn and look inside of your own heart, look inside of your own body, and look inside in your own breathing, and just ask who you are. It's really straight way. It's so simple, so easy. At the same time, very difficult. Because as we talk in the morning, there are so many things that are making us unbalanced, that are making our head full of thoughts, full of feelings that are just not us. It's somehow there, but it's not really me. No. Yeah, so Zazen means basically to sit in meditation. Za means sitting in Japanese language. Zen means meditation. The word Zen itself is coming from the Chinese word saying Chan. Now, Chan means meditation again. And this word Chan coming from the Sanskrit name called Dhyana. Dhyana is again the name for meditation. Dhyana yoga is the way of meditation, the connection through meditation. And what is the meditation then about in the Indian way? You can read, for example, Bhagavad Gita, which is 2,500 years old book, where they speak about meditation and what it is. And they just say, okay, sit, empty your mind, and breathe consciously. That's all. That's all. So simple, you know. And for me personally, I didn't know. No, I didn't know about meditation. I didn't know about all this stuff of Tai Chi, Zen, Sanskrit, yoga, and all this kind of stuff. I was always very intellectual before. As I told you, I was studying these many universities, so I didn't much go into this world of religious and spiritual ways. But then I just heard something strongly deep inside of me. Long years ago, when I was 20, 21, it started to scream on me. No? And it made me very unhappy. I was getting very depressed because I didn't know what's there. What is that voice that keeps screaming there and makes me so desperate? So what did I do? Now, well, what I could. I went to nature. That was always my big helper. And I went to solitude. So I went to the forest and I spent 3 weeks alone in the forest by myself, just to understand who I am, just to listen to myself. And then, after one very strong night, which was full of desperation and fears in the forest, in the morning I was walking on the beautiful meadow, and just naturally I suddenly sit. I had my legs crossed, no? I had straight spine, and I start to breathe consciously. And suddenly that first day, that first really morning, I felt that this voice that is screaming deep inside of me, just silent. And I was happy, first time in my life. Because I was like swimming in the warm water, but deeply inside of me, you know. And I said, wow, what is this? You know. And then I started to do it again and again and again. And then I started to read, you know, about meditation, and actually that it's so long practice, thousands of years old, you know, and I was searching some guides and who can get me further on this path. And yeah, I discovered Zen path, especially the Japanese Zen, because it's so straightforward, you know. It's no intellectual, it's no saying any dogmas, rules, just say sit and see, just sit. And it's so simple, but so difficult at the same time. You know, when you're just sitting, only sit and be the sitting person. Do your sitting as you are extinguishing a fire on your burning house. That's kind of expression of one Zen master. You know, do it like if you play football and you go on the goal. Just sit, but with full of your mind, full of your body, right? That's very difficult sometimes. Yeah? And when I stay in the Zen monasteries in Vietnam and in Japan, imagine they let us to sit 15 hours a day, 5 days a week. 5 days, 15 hours a day, you just sit. After 50 minutes, you go, you make walking meditation, and you sit again. Like this, every day. It's strong practice. Today I will not want from you to sit until midnight, but I will want from you only 30 minutes of this sitting. But I will want, and I want to ask you to really sit and to not move. That's one little and important rule, that when we sit, we don't move. We just have the body under control, and we just see and feel what's going on, what's happening in us. That's one thing. And another one is that I might give you some little bit entrance, little gate, you know, how we can enter the world of our inside. Because once you just only sit and you don't do it before, then really the mind can get very wild. You know, many things can come, many feelings, and you will not be calm and you might not enjoy it. So I will just give you some entrance, so we can calm the mind a little bit, give it some kind of key to unlock this gate of ourselves. Yeah? Okay, but the first of all, we need to learn how to sit and be able to sit. So this needs just a little more explanation before we start. The way to sit with the straight spine are many. The best sitting position, and you could see it on many pictures from the West, is the Padma Asana, the lotus position. No? This is the lotus position. Yeah? No, you don't have to do it. Don't worry. Yeah? I also don't do it because it's heavy for my knees, and for us as Europeans we are not so soft as the Western countries. But this is actually beautiful, amazing position. You know? If you connect with this asana with your full mind, you already can get very close to your deep self. You know? Because if you look at it, this you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Yeah. The important. This is very, very important. Okay, see. These are important energetic points, no? The feet,
The roots.
no? The roots. They connect you with the ground, with outside. Now you have them up, right? So you make a circulation. You have straight spine naturally. So the circulation goes up to universe and down again. So this is very beautiful. But yeah, it's hard. You know, I was doing it in the Vietnamese monasteries. They pushed me into it, to do it. I couldn't walk for 1 month after. You don't want that. No. Okay. So then there is Adha Padma Asana, which is this, half lotus position. That's for me best solution. And maybe you find out that it's also best for you. So you can try it.
But you use always the left to be in.
No, you can use right or left as you wish. Yeah? But for that position you need something under your buttocks. You need to bring your buttocks up so your knees can touch the ground. No, that's important.
So the knees they have to stand below the pelvis.
Yeah, should. Yes. You should be here with the pelvis up and knees down. No, so make
They have to touch the ground.
They should.
Okay.
That's more stable. We need as stable position as possible. So you can first test it. We will test more, before we start. We will test more positions. But like this, for example, you have the pillow too much front. You need it only under your sitting bones. Yeah? Put it a bit higher under your sitting bones. So your pelvis is up, knees down, and you can be really stable. No? This is just a testing. Yeah? How do you feel? How is it? Yeah? Once you are sitting longer, then it can happen that your leg become numb. That the blood circulation can a little bit block somewhere, and then you stop feeling it. No? And also pain can come. So for that it's also possible to just release a little bit the pelvis for half a minute, then come up again. Yeah, but anyway, it's important to hold, to stand, no? To not let the body to make you disturb. Okay, so that's one way. See? Another way, this is called Hankafusa in Japanese, but we can do also sitting position which is called Sesa or Vajra Asana in Sanskrit, which is this one. Very beautiful too. You are straight, you are compact, you're stable. Yeah? And you can have your heels straight under your buttocks, or you can open them and do this Paravarti Vajra Asana, which is opened and you can sit inside. This is probably the most comfortable, but maybe your knees are difficult. So in that case, just again take something and make you higher. Super. So that's another possibility. And the last possibility is it's a Bhutan way of sitting. Bhutan? Yeah, possibly. It's what is the country next between Thailand and India?
Pakistan.
Myanmar. Myanmar. Okay. The way how they sit in Myanmar is this. You put your feet under here, and open wide. And again, you are very stable and spine straight. Okay. You might find it silly explanations, but really, but then you start sitting, you will you really like appreciate the way how you can sit, no? And also it's good for your body, no? If you can find the stability. So now, please test which position will be the most comfortable for you. But also already choose a spot that we all will be heading this way. Yeah, we will be sitting this way, everybody. So please just. Yes.
È la mia terra, è la mia pioggia, è la mia voglia di inventare un cielo un po' più blu. È la mia gente, è la mia forza. Apro la porta come in un re.
As for the entrance of the Zazen, I asked the participants of the workshop to remember the energy of the olive tree that they were working with half a day. And I asked them to imagine that they are becoming this olive tree. No? So they should imagine that their pelvis and their body is strongly rooted into the ground, and their heart and mind is opening as the crown of the tree, and the leaves are opening to the space and to the sun. And I believe that this kind of image would help them not only to remember and embody the experiences they went through during the workshop, but also that they could realize that the tree and the nature itself is actually great inspiration for our spiritual path, for our practice, and for our inner development. You know, because, well, everything in the nature, the plants, the trees, the animals, they just keep growing, they keep moving, and everything in the nature tends to come back, return to its source. So the nature itself has a straight connection with the deep source of life, and that's something that we try to get in touch with, whether it is yoga, zazen, or the gardening, you know, the work outside and farming. Now, when I am reflecting all that has been said during the workshop, there coming to my mind one very important point, very important rule, maybe the most important rule concerning yoga zazen, but especially the pruning of the olive trees. And this rule is: no rule is definite. And no attitude should be just followed blindly, because everything is changing, and same like every one of us is different. We have different bodies, different personalities. Then we also are different for ourselves every day. I'm waking up in a different body every day, a little bit different body. Every day I have different conditions of my inside. So when I do yoga, I should be always sensitive enough and observe myself and my body, and to take always a little bit different attitude, because my body is every day different and I should adjust to these new conditions. Same in Zazen, I'm every day facing different containment of myself, different emotional and mental and physical things inside, and I have to select the right attitude just for that present moment. And same as every one of us is different, so the trees are different, right? Every garden is different, every area is different, and so different is also the weather, the seasonal conditions, the conditions of the soil, the plants that are growing in our garden and in the surrounding area, and also there are different times. Everything's changing in the time. So what is good for one tree might not be that good for another tree. What is good for my garden might not be that appropriate for the garden of my friend. And what fits for the trees in my country might not be the same that fits for the different area. And also, what is good for my trees and my garden now might not be the same as the attitude that I should take in following years, right? So everything keeps changing, and we should keep being flexible. Definitely, we should keep being sensitive and open, and we should keep studying. Yeah, because well, that's what the communication is about, and after all, that is what is life about. So, well, everything keeps changing, all keeps flowing. Pantarei.
L'acqua che scende bagna la gente che non la sente, non si accorge perché lavora. Un giorno nuovo ti senti vivo, esce un sorriso, poi la notte piove ancora. Oh mamma, io mi sveglio con paura, nella notte buia a piangere da sola. Questa pioggia scura bagna la pianura.